So, so as I was saying, this is very relevant when you have an interruption, something that is going on during your presentation, and how do you get around it? Whether it's a question, whether it's an interruption of somebody who's joining late to the meeting and banging the door of the meeting room, or what have you, or you hear a toilet flush when you're doing a Zoom meeting. What's going on? How do you catch yourself up with that? So in this presentation, in this webinar that I would like to be a little bit interactive, but let's keep all the questions at the end, if you don't mind, so that we can really help each other learn from our progress and learn from our individual experiences. I'm not the name in the market about public speaking. I just want to share with you what I have learned so far, and I would like to share with you the top 3 points that are useful for us to master public speaking skill. But before that, let me tell you a little bit on how I came to that. So years ago, I was working in a hotel, like I say, about 20 plus years of experience in the hotel industry. And I could see, I was in my mid 20s, early 30s, and I was wondering, like, why are there people who are succeeding or who seem to succeed, and those people who get promoted when they are not delivering? They are not bringing the money, they're not driving the numbers, they are not getting the results, and yet they're still moving on. And I was comparing myself with them, and I was like, the heck with the coffee with my colleagues or with my boss or anything. I don't care. My job and my results will prove who I am and what I do, right? We've all been in that situation, right? Somewhere, somehow, and you're comparing yourself with others, right? And what I've realized is that the numbers and the money in a corporation is not everything. Earlier than that, before, when I was much younger, I remember that situation when, and it was that situation that was the scene of my life that was really defining until I really started to dig into it. And that was the time when my mother, relaxing, taking a bath, and me against the door, trying to run as fast as possible, despite the fact that the door was closed, trying to recite my multiplication tables. That defining moment of being interrogated, of being asked questions that I was not confident about. I had learning issues. I was an Asperger, non-diagnosed. At the time, nobody was talking about these kind of things, right? On the autism spectrum. Nobody was talking about challenges that children could have. My parents are old school parents, and they were just in the mindset of the more you push, the more you learn, the more you'll get it. Harder means better. You've gone through that yourself, I'm sure. Later on, throughout my life, anytime that I was at home and we were receiving people, how many of you have seen that before? It may be yourselves, where you pulled in and say, hey, Julien, hey, Claire, come here. Hey, Aurélien, come here. And tell our friends all the things you know. And you put on the spot, you're not prepared, not at all, nothing. And you're just like this, and you start to freeze. And suddenly you freeze, you don't remember anything. You don't remember anything, and you think you're not enough. And you think you did not prepare enough. And you think you're not good enough. And all these years, unconsciously have been defining my career. And so did it for you, your career, your business, and these skills are here to be improved. Fast forwarding, the fundamental difference that I found between the people who were not delivering the numbers and getting promoted or getting preferred in the organization, and those who were delivering the numbers, is that they were not expressing themselves in the same manner. The defining point that I've realized is that the skills on how to express yourself with others, how to dialogue, how to propose something, how to sell by extension, how to sell your idea, how to present numbers to a board meeting, to a bank, to your colleagues, to your boss, is done because of the work you've done into improving your skills into public speaking. Now, public speaking has changed completely, as we said before. Now this is virtual, it is not only physical, but what if the public speaking is just communication? How to learn how to communicate better with the person in front of you, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's a one-on-one or multiple people on a Zoom meeting, or it's in an environment and a context of work, or whether it's in your private life with your friends or with your spouse or with your kids. How about we can learn these skills so that we can eventually master these skills? Now, the word mastering is a tricky word because, in my opinion, mastering sounds like, and maybe it sounds the same to you, it sounds like it is a ceiling beyond which you cannot go. And I don't believe that there is such thing as perfection. I think there's perfecting as an evolution, a movement, a progress, a constant progress. But there's not necessarily something to achieve. And by the time, or at the moment, at the very moment we think that there is somewhere to get, I think that's the death of us. That's the death of our growth, of our development, of our expansion. This is where we think that's where we stop. Have you ever realized, or have you ever watched these runs, these 100-meter runs during the Olympics? Have you ever noticed, watch it again, that's really, really interesting. The last 10 meters, the last 10% of the race, almost all of the runners start to slow down. The finish line is there and they start to slow down. While that's the time to actually accelerate, put everything you got. That's the time that you need to continue. And that's my metaphor for that perfection, that 100%, that mastery that we think that that's the end. Well, actually, the Bolts and all the world records athletes are actually not looking at the finish line. They look far beyond that. It's the same thing in martial arts. In martial arts, if you want to break that plank of wood, you don't stop here, you break your hand. You need to go much further. You need to aim much further than that. That's why I don't really like the idea of perfection. That's why I don't like the idea of mastering, because mastering is mastering yourself. It's not mastering a skill. I got a black belt in karate. I got that when I was 20-something, just early 20s. This is when I realized, when my master told me, Xav, the belt is only to hold your trousers. The color doesn't mean anything. Actually, the black belt is the defining moment when you start to learn something. Before it was just a foundation. When people think a black belt is the master, no, it's just the beginning. But we tend to think that this is the finish line and we start to drop our performance before reaching it. So mastering, in my opinion, is more of a constant evolution, a movement, and keeping the momentum going. And this is why you're all here, to continue learning anything that you can so that you can help yourself grow your skills, grow your business, grow your communication skills, because you know there's more to it than where we are at. And I'm still learning. I'm constantly learning, but that's the defining point between all of us who are here on this call and those who did not show up, is that you did already 90% of the job, which is to show up. And for that, congratulations. So in terms of strategies and tactics, which is something maybe that you want to get out of this call as well, I might not give you some enlightening messages on additional tips and tactics, or maybe there's just one that you're going to really grab and that is going to hook you up and going to bring it home for you, and that you can apply straight away. The first point is that it is, in my opinion, having the courage of standing up in front of people. Now, sometimes you don't have the option because, well, work is asking you to go there, your managers ask you to do that, or maybe because you need to go to the bank to ask for money, or maybe you need to go to the company to start the deal. So sometimes you don't really have the choice. But the question is, what kind of mindset do you go with? So the first point is actually having the courage of getting in, getting out there. And my main question that I would like to ask you is actually, what is your desire to go in that meeting? What is your why? What is your goal into going in that meeting? What is your intention in going in that meeting? Is it out of necessity, or is it because you want? And there's a huge difference between the two. It might sound very similar to lots of us, but actually, if you drill it down, there's psychologically a huge difference that will going to make a big impact on your meeting. You see, when I came here, when I was preparing for this meeting, I started to set some intentions. And I asked myself, okay, Zab, what do you want to get out of it? What do you want to deliver? What intention do you have for this briefing, for this meeting, for this webinar? And my intention was very simple. I would like to impact by giving you something that has changed my life and that I hope you can take away for yourself. So a need is a necessity. If you have a necessity, you end up being needy. If you have a want for going in that meeting, then you end up having the power, the decision power of what you want and how you want to get into that meeting. Need and want are radically different. And my question to you is that in your next meeting, in your next webinar, in your next face-to-face or virtual meeting, what will be your intention? Because that will define the way that meeting is going to develop and get around. Then, of course, the second point will be, of course, preparation, right? How prepared are you about this meeting? Now, I'm not talking only about prepare about the light and about the position and the voice and the audio. Yes, of course, all of this is important, and we know that, right? But how are you prepared about the topic that you're going to talk about, right? What kind of knowledge do you have amassed that you're ready to share and to give to your audience? Maybe it is the numbers of your business. Again, let's take the example of the bank, right? Do you know your numbers? I was in charge of the strategy of 3 hotels in Dubai several years ago. And when I say strategy, I mean being totally in charge of whatever money comes to the hotels. Who we're going to talk to, which travel agencies, which feeder markets, what price, what positioning, what's the competition doing, what are we doing compared to last year, forecasting, budgeting, absolutely everything you can think of. And I was put in charge of this multi-million-dollar business. And I had to think and prepare myself. But the main question that I've always asked myself is that every time somebody was asking me a number, my first reaction was, I don't need to know the numbers as long as I know where to get them. Is it what you're expecting the banker to ask you, or your manager, or your audience? Or you're expected to know all your numbers just like that? Because that's your business, that's your life, that's your passion, that's what you're talking about. Knowing what you're talking about is primordial. Then the material. Do you want supporting material or not? Do you want a regular background? Do you want a fake background because you're in a storage room like I am now? Do you want, what do you want to portray? What do you want to show, right? Do you want some light? Do you want slides? Do you want the slides that cover completely your face, or do you have, there's a new tool that I've seen today that actually splits the screen, and you have actually the slides are pretty much this size compared to the rest of the video. So you can present the slides at the same time as presenting yourself and have more of an authentic conversation with the person in front of you. Or do you want nothing? Do you want cards? Do you want a notebook or not? Now, why I'm not sharing slides today is because I wanted to show you that you don't necessarily need to have slides. And actually slides, I stopped slides about 10 years ago. I was fed up with slides because I've realized that actually when I was presenting the slides, people were looking at the slides, not looking at me. People were reading the text, not listening to what I was saying. So at school, you might have heard, right? And worked on your slide skills. Not too much text, just bullet points. That's why it's called PowerPoint. And then you fluff around and you talk about that specific point. But still, people read the slide and people are not paying attention to you. And I've realized that in these presentations, when I was presenting budget, even if I was presenting numbers, people were not looking at me and we were not having that conversation when there was about negotiation and understanding where the numbers are coming from that are computed. There was no interaction. It was all about the slides. But how many of you realize that even in front of the bank, it's not only about the numbers? How many of you realize that it is personal? Like I like to say, it's never just business, it's always, always, always personal, in the sense that it's always about the person. So that preparation is very important, and the slides that you might want to present because you need these slides, it's fine. So what I decided, instead of moving in the same direction as the slides as everybody else, I decided to turn myself around, talking to my colleagues, boss, and audience, and have the slides behind, because anyway, I had the computer in front of me. But these are a little bit of tweaks and strategies so that my aim was to connect with the audience, or to have this discussion person to person, heart to heart, or head to head, rather, if it was about numbers, right? But that made all the difference in the world. The dictation, how you are expressing yourself, is of course hugely important. And I had to work so bad on it. I used to be mumbling when I was a kid. And to some extent, I still do, but I catch myself up. And I catch myself not saying exactly the word correctly or pronouncing it clearly enough so that the person will understand what I'm saying. And then what happens then if I mumble on a word, if I stumble on a word? Your mind will stop listening to what I'm saying and will be like, whoa, what was that word? What was that word? And try to go in the repertoire, try to think, try to understand what's going on. What did he say? What's the context? Let me try to find out. By then, I'm already 3 sentences away. I lost my audience. So this is a lot of practice. And I believe that the best preparation is practice, practice, practice. Then you have the additional tools about body language and preparing yourself. Did you have a good day? That's what Goran was asking before, right? To everyone. I was like, did you have a good day? And it's not about, well, of course he wants to know if you had a good day, but it's more about putting you in the mood as well, right? If you go into a presentation, you go all slant and head down and not in a good mood and having a bad hair day or stepping on the wrong side of the bed and having missed something in a day, your cereals were not as you like them, this is going to ruin your presentation. So that preparation is also a mental and physical preparation. And the third point, of course, is a passionate, I would say a heart preparation. So doing the research of your preparation, doing the research about your audience, who is your audience, is of course very important. You might have seen, you might have heard, or you might have done yourself like I did, no presentation, no preparation. I didn't know who I was about to talk to. I ended up on a stand in ATM, and I had no clue who I was going to talk to. I just knew that was my topic, and that's it. So the topic, I knew it, I mastered it, no problem, but I had no idea on who my audience was. And because I had no idea who they were, then I could not connect with them. I could not make any links, any relatable stories, any relatable hooks that I could make them feel that I understand where they're coming from, right? So this is why I've sent that message earlier on the WhatsApp groups to ask you for some questions. This is one of the tools that you can use to prepare your presentation by asking questions about what people are expecting out of this webinar, out of this meeting. So now you have your expectation, your intention, your goal, your desire, why you're going there, your why, and then you also have the expectations of your audience. And once you have these two, then you know how to bridge it. Next point. Opening the talk and closing the talk. The opening the talk can start with many different ways. You can have a hook, the question I was asking on the call, on WhatsApp group, the hook or the question that Goran was asking at the beginning of the presentation, or that I asked you as well for a number. What do you think? Did you have this experience? And then go into a story so that you can also relate to what I'm going to talk about, right? So I talked about my story about my issues and the defining moment that happened when I realized that actually communication is so important in the context of work, but also in the context of personal life as well. But what's also important is to make sure that you close that story. If you don't close that story, it's like waiting for the second shoe to drop. What's the conclusion? What's the end of that story? What is the metaphor? What is the takeaway from that story? And then we go in between the opening and the closing. We're talking about the delivery. Now, the delivery, of course, for many of you, that will not be anything new. But I would say that you have 5 P's in the delivery. The first one is projection. How do you project your voice? I was doing some sound testing with Goran just before the start, to make sure that you can hear me well, to make sure that you can hear my voice. I'm not too loud, I'm not too low, although you can regulate the volume on your side, right? But if the projection of my voice is not good enough, then you're going to lose interest. The pitch is, of course, very important as well. You might have heard, of course, some very high-pitched voice, and that can be kind of grating, like nails on a chalkboard, and that can be really irritating. It's not that it's good or that it's bad. It is about understanding and getting the feedback to know what you can work on. And again, that's mastery. It's mastering yourself so that you can continuously progress into the desired position that you would like to have at work, or is it about the person you want to become? Then you have the pace. Now, the pace is basically how fast or slow you can go with your voice. And that, I think, is very telling of how the person is feeling. It happens very often that a person who is uncomfortable can go into 2 extremes. That person can be very slow because that person is looking for the words and not sure about what I'm going to talk about. Or if the person is super fast because that person is so anxious and doesn't know exactly where to pause and how to pause the whole sentence and relax. And that's where the next P is about the pause. But that means that you need to be comfortable with silence. And how many of us are comfortable with silence? And how many of us feel the need, not the want, the need to say something? Say something. You can't have a blank, you can't have a pause. You need to talk. And if you don't talk, I'll talk. Right? But it's also important that your pace and your pause explain and tells a story about how excited you are or how down you are. So when I was relating my story with me being stupid and not knowing my multiplication table, and if I'm all excited when I'm talking about this, and it doesn't relate to you anymore, right? So it needs to be, of course, authentic. What you're telling about, what you're talking about needs to be authentic. But if I'm excited, then I need to pick up the pace. And that's fine because it's a video, it's a recording, you can go back to it and pick up again and listen to it again and get the points that you might have missed, right? Because you might be taking a lot of notes right now, but there might be things that are very, very important. Which brings me to the fifth P, which is the power words. It is the impact and the pressure you put on the key words of the presentation. If it is a keyword in your sentence, if it is a keyword in your presentation, and your voice is not congruent, is not accompanying your pitch, say again, to the bank, for example, and say, okay, I have this exciting idea, and this is going to do this, and it's going to do that, and this is my audience, and these are people, and I'm expecting to get this return and everything, and I need some money. It doesn't show that you have the confidence in what you're saying anymore, right? I see some of you shaking your heads like, yeah, I've been there. I've been there too. I know exactly what it feels like. It's at the end of your pitch and you're not feeling that confidence anymore into what you're saying. So you're all pumped up about your idea. I'm all pumped up about my budget and my numbers that I'm presenting, or I'm all pumped up about the presentation I'm giving. And at the end, at the last 10%, I've slowed down my pace and I crash in a wall instead of crossing that finish line. You see the metaphor? Run, work like a sprinter, not like a marathon runner. Impact, boom, cross that line and continue as if there was no finish line. It's just one thing on your way to your growth and your continuation. Now, presence is one more point that is so critical in a presentation. You can almost say, and you might have heard that saying, right? That people will not necessarily remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. And to my ego, it's very annoying sometimes when I hear, great presentation, Azab, awesome. What did you talk about? Because it can happen that you're all pumped up and I'm all excited about what I'm talking about, and the point drove home, but I know that my presentations are not only data. My presentations are not only information. They are more experiential. It's an experience more that I like to give to my audience. And sometimes, depending on the topic, it can even be transformational for that person. So it doesn't have to be conscious remembering of what I said, but it's more of an emotional and feeling remembering of how made you feel, and that you bring it home. You don't remember, your mind does not remember exactly what I said. Maybe I was too fast, maybe too many tips, too many points, but that's fine. Because there's maybe that one point that you bring home for your mind to be at rest and say, well, you know what, that was worth it actually, and I can apply it straight away. But what's even more important is what you felt and how it changes you subconsciously and emotionally for the future. And you will remember these stories that you can relate to in your future meeting, future one-on-one, future video chats, or anything else, or Zoom meetings. So the presence and the personality that you're expressing is translated through your body language. There's a reason why I'm standing and I'm not sitting. I've done many webinars where the person was asking me, the facilitator asked me to be sitting. And obviously, you know very well, right? Now that we're doing so much of our time sitting on the chair, computer, and even more so when we're working at home, sitting on the chair, there's no break. There's literally, we're working so much more actually. so many more hours because we're sitting and because the coffee machine is too far. But I can't, because what if somebody calls me? And what if what if a meeting starts before I thought I had enough time? I can't even go to the bathroom anymore. What's going on? Right? That's why we end up with so many unfortunate but funny circumstances and funny situations. But what if? So better not be out of my chair. So we end up sitting, and by sitting, we end up losing our energy. How many times in the day do you sit and stand up just for 2-3 minutes, just to relax your legs a little bit, just to move around, relax your back, stretch a little bit, anything? We don't anymore. So we're losing our energy. Now, for the past 2 years, I've been working for the company I'm working for on a global project. And in that global project, every week, I'm talking to about, let's say, I went more than that, but on average, every single week for the last 2 years, 20 hotels per week, right? So it went much higher. I ended up doing 40 hours just of calls, 40 hours, and I was the one talking. And as you can hear now, I'm pumped up and I have the energy and I'm excited about what I'm talking. But for the last 2 years, I've been talking about the same thing, work related, to 20 hotels, 20 GMs, 20 teams per week. And I was still excited, and I'm still excited. And I got comments asking me like, Zah, how you do it? I mean, seriously, I thought it was just the beginning, when you have the excitement of the start of something new. It's been 2 years, you're still doing it. I didn't have any vacation for the last year and a half. And people asking me like, you talk too much. I said, no, I don't talk too much. I'm just so excited about what I'm doing. I'm helping people. I'm helping these hotels go through that process of transformation. But that's my excitement. The body language is reflected and reflecting what I'm feeling inside. How many people have you seen? How many people do you know who work slouched like this on their computer? Right? Call centers. You've seen some? Welcome to the call center. How can I help you? And you wonder why everybody's getting frustrated. You wonder why everybody's getting pissed off because they don't answer the question, because you don't feel understood, right? They're not agitated. They're not excited. Nothing. Flatline. I was working previously in hotels at the front desk, and one of my main roles at some point was actually to handle guest complaints. And you can all relate, because I'm sure you've all used at least once in your life a hotel. And when something doesn't go the way you expected, it was overpromised, or different pictures, different feedback you got, or maybe that was not the right day. You know how it feels, right? I had to learn how to handle guest complaints. The major point in handling guest complaints is to build rapport, so that I understand where you're coming from. I understand what you're feeling. And how many times have you heard on the phone, maybe with customer service or in a hotel again, you're not happy and there's something that's bothering you, and that person is looking at you like, I understand. And what do you feel like? You don't feel like squeezing that person by the neck. No, you don't understand. Honestly, you don't understand, because I'm fired up and I'm not happy. And he's just looking at me like a psychotherapist. I understand. No disrespect to psychotherapists, but that's generally the flat line that people are having, right? But you need to match the person in front of you. That's called mirroring. People like people who are like them. Have you had this experience where, for example, yourself, maybe you were in a rush and somebody stops you and say, hey, I need something, I need to tell you something. And you're like, no, I'm in a rush, I'm in a rush. No, but I really have something very important to tell you, right? please wait, it will take only a minute. It took 1 minute already for you to tell me that. I'm in a rush, don't you understand? Right? Same thing, you want to talk to somebody and that person is all agitated in front of you and you're like, oh, okay, maybe next time. And you lose your opportunity to talk to that person. Does that sound familiar? It's the same thing when you're presenting. If the topic that you're talking about asks you to be fired up and to be passionate, and you are very excited in the tone of voice and your body language as well, then you're losing everybody. And people switch off. So body language is so important. What I would like to go to now, just before finishing, is that the body language is not necessarily only the body language that you're having during the meeting and interaction you're having with that person. It's also the body language you have in preparation to make the loop to the preparation, to circle it back and bring it back home to the beginning of this talk. It is about preparing your body as well to go to that meeting. Preparing in sense of, well, maybe the way I'm dressed and, well, I'm at home and I put my shoes on. Because I want to feel that I'm not too relaxed and take this too casual, because I want to share with you my experience. I want to share with you what I've learned, because I'm passionate about explaining to you these things so that hopefully it will help you the way it helped me in the past. And that no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the situations, my Asperger and my awkwardness in public, all of this can be overcome if you put the work. And that's, for me, mastering. So preparing physically, mentally, and emotionally before the talk so that I can come here and I'm all fired up and excited about what I'm going to share with you is as important as the body language I'm presenting to you right here, right now. So now I'm going to tell you these 3 top points. I know I'm running out of time.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry, but I'm so excited about this topic. I just have so much more to share with you. It's just the tip of the iceberg.
5 minutes to wrap up. Go ahead.
All right, cool. So to wrap up, right? So first of all, to have the courage, to have the why in your head, to have the intention, setting the intention before going for that meeting, presentation, face-to-face. And that's not only work related, that's also with your friends, with your family, with anybody, right? Just to go with the mindset of saying what do I want in that interaction. Second of all, preparation. What kind of preparation do I need to have? Is it myself prepared? Is it about knowing what I'm going to talk about, knowing the person I'm talking to, what these people are expecting as well? It's about starting the meeting or starting the call, the Zoom, or the interview, or absolutely anything. Open and don't forget to close it. In between the delivery, the 5 Ps. Then we go into the presence and the personality that you're portraying so that you can prepare your body language during the meeting, and even before that, preparation. Now, to finish this off with the 3 main points that I wanted to share with you about mastering these public speaking skills, which I will rephrase into communication skills. First one, constant improvement. Constant growth, constant expansion, never ending. There's no finish line. There's nothing. It's just in our heads. I hate the expression, think outside the box, because there's no box except the box that you're creating with this. Actually, the only box is the skull. Your brain is inside and you feel that you're trapped inside. There is no box except the self-limiting beliefs, self-negative talk that we're putting on ourselves, the old story that I'm bringing back and I've been dragging for 40 years with me. There's no box except the one you create. So constant improvement, constant evolution. Number 2, passionate. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, as long as you find a passionate point of discussion in that presentation. Even if it's numbers, I don't care, whatever it is. even if it's about the brown owls in the countryside of Ireland and how they reproduce, anything else, I don't care. There's something you can find that you can be passionate about and that you can relate to your audience about, so that you become passionate about it. And the third, and most probably for me, the most important point, and that we tend to miss most of the time, it is not about you. It's not about you. It's about the audience. It is about the audience. Everything is about the audience. What do you give them? Your preparation is an intention. What do you want for them? It's not about what are you going to get out of it. It's what are you going to offer them, and over-deliver and set the tone. But it's about them. And if I feel that my audience didn't get enough, then I use that as a feedback. I didn't fail. There's no such thing as failure. Again, it's like same thing as a box. Failure is a box that we're creating for ourselves. There's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback.
Conclusion?
That's the conclusion. So 3 points: constant improvement, be passionate, and it's not about you. Now, there's so much more I would like to share with you.
Next.
I have so much more there. Go on, wait for it. There, I would love to invite you to go through my website. It's x-strategies.com.
I will share.
Follow me on LinkedIn. I've written a book that is going to help you even more to write. That's not the sales pitch. This is what you can get for yourself, so that you can get that on Amazon, on my website. You have a free copy of the ebook on my website, because this is what I'm here to offer you.
Great.
Thank you very much for your attention.
And energy, amazing. I think we all learned something tonight. We have some questions, maybe people who have ideas or questions about their own experience or something that they want to share. No? Charlotte, Nico, Soumaya, Niket, Aurélien, Julien, Christian, all good? No question?
All good.
Ready for your next presentation? Sorry, Julien?
No, I was saying a good refresher. Good refresher of the basics. It's very good.
Thank you very much. It's all about the basics, right? As I said, black belt, you got the foundations. Now it's up to you. And that's why these 3 points behind us. Like, now you can, your best topic, your best practice is yourself. Practice, practice, practice. There's always an opportunity to practice. As long as you talk to someone, that's the time to practice.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have one question, quick one. Niket here.
Okay, Niket, go ahead.
Hi, Niket.
Yeah. Thank you, Xavier. Really nice talk. One question that I don't know if it was covered during the presentation, but you covered 6 P's, but what was missing was one N, which is nervousness when you do a presentation in front of a public. How do you overcome that?
All right. Excellent question. Thank you. So the nervousness is coming from what?
Unprepared.
It's coming from either you don't think you're enough, or that they're going to skew you on the barbecue.
Yeah, probably the second one.
Right? Exactly. Now, if it's a topic, and that's all part of preparation, if the topic is something you're passionate about, then there's no problem. If it's a topic that you're not passionate about, and that you find a passion, then there's no problem. If you prepare yourself mentally, physically before that, and pump yourself up before the presentation, there's no problem. If you know your audience and you know what you're going to talk about, then there's no problem. I still go through that. I've done presentations to hundreds of people and hundreds of people on webinars as well. And I'm doing, as I said, about 20, 30, 40 hours of course every week with lots of people and regional directors and VP and SVPs and COO of my company, I'm CEO of my company. I'm like, it's okay. But it's not about going there completely prepared and like, I don't fear anything, because then that's where your presence and personality will be completely different. Then you'll come as arrogant. Then you'll be skewered on the barbecue, because especially if it's somebody who has a leverage over you, if it's the bank, if it's a superior or anybody else in front of you, right? How do you think that person is going to take you? If that person already thinks that that person is there and you're here, right? Going to look down on you, and you'll be like, wait, my friend, I'm here, okay? Or I'm even higher sometimes. It gets into that, it projects in the meeting. And that's where the conflict arises, right? But if you have all of this prepared before, and if you are in the mindset of, it's about you, it's not about me. Yes, you're the boss. Yes, you're the banker. Yes, you have the money. Yes, I need the money. And so what? No problem. But I think there are two things that we are missing out usually, is that we either want to feel right and really want to feel good. Think about that. That's where conflicts comes in, because we want to be right. I'm the expert and I'm here and I'm going to teach you everyone how to do things. No, we all have experience here. We can learn from each other. And as I said, I'm learning as well. There are ups and downs, and I can't be all the way up, although I would like to, but that means perfection, right? The mastery is to understand that when it goes down, when I have a bad day, when it's not going as well, I get the feedback so that I can pick myself up. So, Nikhil, to go back to your question, it is not about not feeling the stress, not feeling the anxiety. It is about knowing how to deal with it. And all that I've mentioned before in that video, in that presentation, very short, very brief, but all of that is going to help you with that. At the beginning, my heart was pumping like crazy. I was like, I know, but they're ESSEC and they're HSC, it's fine, no problem. It's like family, But still, I was like, boom, 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 boom. But then after I start, I think it takes me like 1 or 2 sentences. Boom, then I'm in the groove. And it's okay.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Xavier.
No, thanks for the question.
Impressive. Thank you so much again, Xavier, for everything, for your presentation. This has been recorded, and we will share normally on the ESSEC Alumni platform. Reminding just that 9th of June, we have a get-together at Taj, and you are all the most welcome. For the Parisian people, unfortunately, you won't be there. Alexandrine, we'll miss you. But in any case, everyone, we are just looking forward to have you there. Any question? Sure. Okay.
Last chance.
Last chance. Yeah. Go ahead.
And you know where to find us, right?
Yes. You will be there at the next gathering or not? The 9th of June, Xavier.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right? Okay. In any case, if you meet Xavier there, you will have, I think, a nice chat with around the beer. Please, guys, don't hesitate, and we are all looking forward to our next webinar and next get together. Thank you, everyone. Awesome. Wish you a pleasant evening, and see you soon. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Xavier, and well done.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Well done.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Xavier. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.